All right, I got a spicy one for you today. I did these designs several weeks ago and I went back through these notes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really like what happened here because this applies to everybody. Whether you got a big house, a small house, you're on a tight budget, if you got a little extra money to spend, the principles I'm gonna teach you amongst these three designs are universal and it's quite a transformation we got going. We're going to 3 different parts of the country. I'm firing out tips. I'm gonna tell you how much it costs, if you're gonna do it or you're gonna hire somebody. Let's get into it. Like I said, I'm pretty excited about today. My name is Bobby K. I'm a professional landscape designer and general contractor, and I love to help people, specifically busy people who don't have a lot of time, transform their yards, make something beautiful. Today we're gonna focus on the front yard. I'm gonna show you principles that are around the same theme of creating big, beautiful beds. Big and beautiful, for me, means taking those beds off the perimeter of the house and then sometimes actually taking them down to the sidewalk, like bringing them out away from the house so that you're creating depth in your design. I think that's super important when it comes to curb appeal. A lot of times, we kind of just focus on that perimeter and we leave the rest up to grass. I think this is an opportunity to enhance your curb appeal big time. That's why it's big and beautiful. So the first one we're going to is in Cary, North Carolina. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing because this is the kind of content we put out on a weekly basis. I'm here to help you. I'm here to tell you how much it costs and just set you up to win. So let's go to Cary. As you can see, this is a very nice house. We got a 2-story here. We got a nice sized lot. It is on the corner, so we are definitely talking some curb appeal here. I mean, this is the definition of curb appeal, right? What I wanted to do was get rid of the evergreens in the front, get rid of the bed that's kind of isolated out in the middle of the lawn. It's not really serving a purpose. It looks like it's out of place, right? Let's get a blank template on here. So we're gonna clean it up, and then what I wanna do is start to create those big, beautiful beds. We're gonna create some beds around the perimeter. We're actually gonna take them down along the driveway and put another bed on the other side of the driveway, so we're balancing that out. We're also gonna put a bed out along the curb, along the sidewalk. Now we've really created some depth. We got all of this space to create some beautiful landscaping. And here is a little pro tip for you. When you are creating beds and you're trying to create these nice sweeping curves, you can, essentially when we're doing the design software, I can grab a circle and I can put a circle on there and then I can trace around it. It's a lot easier in design software, which is why you get a design. By the way, I'm giving out a discount, so go in the link below if you are interested in the design. Back on point, what you can do in real world is you can take a hose or you can mark out with, say, flags and then take spray paint and connect those lines, and you can play around until you get the curves right, exactly where you want it. The reason a design is so helpful is the design has measurements and it shows you where all of this stuff is versus trying to guess. It makes it a lot easier to connect those and get these nice sweeping curves. So use shapes, use spray paint, use a hose to get those. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you have finally created those big curves, those are the opportunities for the bigger stuff, in my opinion. So you're gonna put your trees, you're gonna put your larger bushes, you're gonna put your focal points, cool boulder, whatever, out on those curves. Here we start with the European hornbeam. I've got a magnolia where I wanted to put a little circle and a tree out in the lawn to kind of break up all of that dead space. And then they already had an existing crabapple in the lawn, so I just showed what that would look like in bloom in the software, and then I balanced it out on the other side of the driveway to create a little symmetry. So that is the other thing you can do, is start with those trees with those curves. The final thing that I like to do is a little bit of a layering effect, but it's more of a framing effect is what I would call this. So when you've got those hooks and you've got your evergreens in place, we've got winter interest, and now you want to spruce it up with some color, we've got some coleus going on, which are the pinks and the lime greens. And what I did here was I layered those in front of those hollies that we've got going. And then I did that framing effect where I created almost a semicircle around those trees. And then I just did that over and over throughout the design. And then to get a little bit of extra interest, get some color, get some texture in there, threw some butterfly bushes along that curve along the sidewalk. So it almost creates a little bit of privacy, a little bit of that wispy, flowy vibe, but then it brings all of this interest all the way out to the sidewalk. So you've got color, you've got height, you've got texture, you've got some boulders in here, you got different trees. All of a sudden this thing went from a little hodgepodge and a little uncertain to this beautiful, big, beautiful BAM statement, Curb Appeal 101. You light up your investment and then you gotta figure out, all right, if I'm gonna do this, how much does it cost? If you're gonna do it yourself, we've got quite a few plants in here, got some trees, it's gonna eat up some money, got the mulch, got all these products, right? I would say all in, your products are gonna be about $5,000. Add lighting in, $6,000. If you hire somebody to do this, this is a big job. This would take a decent amount of time. I'd say around $15,000 all in for a crew. Let's go off to the next one. All right, before I show you my favorite design of this video, last one's good too, but this is my favorite, I'm gonna ask for something. Last time I asked for this, you guys blew me away. You absolutely crushed it. I asked for 50 likes and 50 comments, and I think it got up to like several hundred. It was incredible, and I really appreciate it. I'm asking for 100 on this one. Let's see if we can do 100 likes. Throw a comment down there. Just say where you're from. Just say where you're from. Hey, how you doing? I'd like to meet you. If you got a question, I always respond. I'm happy to help you. It's for free, right? So that's all I ask. Let's get into this one. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Okay, so why I like this one so much is it's just really simple, it's clean, and anybody can install this. So starting out, we're gonna clear everything out. And we're gonna go off our concept that we just learned about with pulling the beds off the house and then creating those purposeful curves where we're gonna put in our trees. We got a flowering cherry, we got a crabapple, and we have a dwarf spruce that is splitting these windows. I like to split windows with some kind of focal point, whether it's a pot, a tree, a boulder, to just get the dead space and draw your eye to something else. So that's what we did there. Now here's the pro tip in this one. Look at the color of the mulch. That is on purpose. I went with a little bit lighter brown. Why? Because of the shutters. The shutters have this kind of lighter brown tone, almost like a light walnut of some sort, right? Espresso, whatever. That's why the mulch is so key here. If we went with black, I think it would clash a little bit with this house. Might be able to pull it off because they got black trim around the door and the windows, but I just felt like that mulch to bring out the shutters because they want the shutters to be a focal point, totally works. So play off your existing architecture when you're selecting your color palette. That's number one. The second thing is, now we want to get in some bushes. We've got our height, we've got with our trees, we've got our curves. Now let's get some seasonal interests out there so that when it goes dormant in the winter, it still looks good. We've got some hollies, that's the green effect. But then we want some color pretty much the other 3 seasons, spring, summer, fall. Got some spirea, some red twig dogwoods, which also look good in the winter. And then we've also got some azaleas, which are kind of framing over by that window. So now we've got our meat and potatoes, our bushes in there. The final thing that I want to look at is a cheap and effective way, if you're on a budget especially, to spruce up beds, is to throw in some perennials. Throw in things with a shallow root system that are anywhere between $10 to $20 a piece, these little 1 gallons, but have a big impact. So what I did here is, if you look at the right in the front of the design, by the way, I love boulders. I threw in boulders in some different spots to break up the line of sight. That's something to do. But if you look up here in the front by the boulders, threw in some salvia. These are super cheap. They get pretty decent size and they got a beautiful color, this nice purple going on. And I think it makes a huge difference when you're at the sidewalk, you get hit with that right away, and then your eye starts to gravitate up towards the house. This transformation is incredible. Throw some planters on the porch, framing that as you come up the walkway, got some ferns in there, and boom, you are done. All in on this one. You light up that investment, you're doing it yourself. I'd say you are gonna be around the 4,000 marker, a little bit cheaper on this one. If you are going to hire somebody, this is gonna be, I think, in around that $7,500 range. You can always tack on about $500 to $1,000 for landscape lighting, but somewhere in that range is where this is gonna be. Let's go to the last one. Okay, we're having technical difficulties here. We're going to Indianapolis, Indiana, but before we do, I realized that when I was recording my screen while I was doing this design, it didn't really happen. So we're gonna improvise. And I was thinking of that movie, Waiting. You ever seen that movie, Waiting? They're waiting tables, right? And it's like the ins and outs of what really goes on in a restaurant. It's a hilarious comedy, I highly recommend. But there's this part where a newbie is getting training, and there's this like goofy videos that he's gotta watch, and they always do these like stupid things where they're like, hey, and then something appears. I'm gonna do that right now because I gotta pull out my computer to show you this design. And there it is. Did I do a good job? Hopefully my editor helps me with that. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Let me show you what is going on with this bad boy. So this is how we're gonna do this one. First off, I feel like a tumbleweed going across here. There was really nothing going on, so this is pretty easy. Let's create a bunch of beds. Now this client said they were gonna get some of that concrete edging and they wanted some curves going on. So that's what I represented at first. But then of course, we're pocketing out those purposeful curves for our trees and our different elements that we want to do. So let's take everything we just learned in the last two designs and you're gonna see it in real time. Here's a purposeful curve with a white dogwood. Boom, that was the first thing we did. Now I'm putting in that blue spruce or that dwarf spruce that we talked about earlier. What am I doing? I'm splitting the windows, so you look there. Okay, and then remember we had azaleas in another one that kind of anchored along windows? Well here, I did some dwarf Arctic willows instead. So it gives a little bit of height and texture, but it's the same principles. I'm just swapping out bushes. So we've got our height, we've got our purposeful curves, and then we're just splashing it up. I've got some Hamlin grasses here. I've got those soft touch hollies back here. I've got some blue fescue around the light right over here. And then I'm balancing it out by bringing them over by the white dogwood on this side. And finally, I'm even balancing out those hollies by putting them down the side and then framing with some red twig dogwoods. So we've got the seasonal interest, we got our heights, our textures, everything that we just learned. And then of course, what do? You light up your investment at night. There it is. That is the design. So, how much does all this cost? This one's pretty easy. I think you can get all in yourself, not the concrete edging. Just imagine that's gone, because I don't even know what they charge. They probably charge like $15 a linear foot. Who knows, maybe it's a little cheaper. But without the edging, you can do this whole design, I would say $1,500 you can probably get in there. If you hire a company, minus the edging, probably in about $3,500 to $4,500 on the high side. So you can see that even if you're on a budget, you can do it yourself or you can hire somebody, you can still completely transform your house. You can get a quarter of a bathroom for that price, right? Interior and exterior are completely different. Your dollar goes so much further on the exterior, and I believe it adds a lot of value to the house and to your peace of mind. You pull up in your driveway, you're happy, boom, you're awesome. Should I do the waiting thing again? Whoa, there it is. That's so stupid, but I had too much fun with this. Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching. Please like the video, throw a comment down there. And if you wanna watch more, this is a great video right here. This is Bobby K saying creation is everything, so go out and create. Bye.